always saw my mom cooking. So that was where my love for food came from. Father opened up a restaurant when I was 14 in Old City, Philadelphia. Old City's like a little downtown neighborhood. And that was where I cooked first, was when I was 14. I was in high school, and then I landed on that's what I wanted to do, and went to Johnson and Wales, which is my campus was in Virginia. And like I always wanted to pursue food from that point. And then I was like, cooking's kind of like grueling. So let me stop cooking. And I went front of house immediately when I graduated college. I was restaurant managing for hotels in Philly. And then I got like burnt out of that pretty quick. It was probably like 4 years. I was like, yo, this is crazy too. My bosses are nuts. They're all crazy. So I can't do this for anybody until I like open up for myself, which I always said I was going to just open up something. I just didn't know what or how or money, like just all of it. It's just like all daunting, especially when you're just trying to figure it out or whatever. But it was the only thing I knew.
So that was your, sorry to interrupt, but that was your kind of your defining moment of you're in the back of the house, you're kind of cooking away, you're exhausted, you're getting completely slammed. And then you can move to the front of the house and it's now you're dealing with, crazy bosses and
a different side.
You're like, I'm out.
It wasn't as grueling. Yeah. It was just a different side of like, I don't like this either. Like I'm reporting to people who don't understand the vision that I see, and I got to listen to what they're saying.
It's more emotionally exhausting versus physically exhausting in the back.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And again, go on. I was going to say from a visionary standpoint, I always like, they never saw it how I saw it. And not to say that I'm right or was right, but I'm like, how do they not see what I see? Like, I can't fucking do this. I just can't. This was at like 23, 24, which is super young. Like looking back, it's like young as hell. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to Apple. And the only thing that got me into Apple at the time was, this is in 2007. First iPhone came out in late 2007. So this is summer 2007. So this is pre-iPhone. I'm driving home and I'm looking. I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm a PC user. I have a Nextel phone. The other phone is a Sidekick, which was an even wilder device. And I'm like, all right, I'm pulling here. And I went in and I'm like, why is everything stainless and why are they so nice? And like it was a different like retail perspective. And I was in the business of retail. It's just I was selling food. Instead of in a suit every day instead of selling an actual like UPC product. So I went in there and they're like, yeah, we sell computers. And I'm like, all right, I've never used one. And I was like, y'all hiring? And then from there, I was with them for 8 years, and Apple taught me a lot. I learned a lot from Apple. So I'll forever be an Apple's debt for that. Their training, their philosophy, mentality, their branding, like that, all of it. Steve Jobs is a big visionary, and I understood. Like I'm like, all right, this vision I can get down with. And then in 2014 was when I was unceremoniously fired from Apple. A new manager came in. They couldn't stand me. And admittedly, I was only doing what I wanted to get by. Because I knew Apple wasn't it for me either. It was just that I enjoyed the environment. But probably like halfway through my time there, I kind of like, it was like a ceiling, and it was just like I was doing new store openings and like trainings and stuff like that, which was fun. But it wasn't. I was never in it for that. I just wanted to progress through it as long as I could. But to make a long story short, I was fired for time and attendance after 8 years, which was complete nonsense. It was nonsense. This woman couldn't stand me. But anyway, moving on. And at that point, I had already started Stripp'd, and she knew that. Um, so then I was like, all right, well, I guess this is my propellant to get me to start Stripp'd. And then a year later, I opened Stripp'd.
So tell the viewers and listeners what Stripp'd
Great
is,
question.
because if they don't know, that
Right.
could signal something that you don't
Yeah,
want
right.
them to keep going with.
Right.
So yeah, and also just to back up really fast. So you're at Apple, you're there for 8 years, you're extremely loyal, you're learning so much. But you still are like, you're having this need to start this restaurant like from an early age, growing up in it. So how did you start Stripp'd? And also, what did that look like?
Mhm.
What was that like defining moment of like, I'm going to open this, and then tell everyone what it is so we can talk
So
about that first.
we can back up a little bit. So the 2000 and maybe 12. Yeah, I think it was 2012. First trip to LA in 2012. And when I went out there, I'm like, this is like Mars. This is a whole other planet out here. Like, what is happening? Time is off. No other like what I was enamored by a lot when I went to LA. But we have friends that lived out there who now live in Evergreen.
Oh, I love Evergreen.
Yeah.
I just was actually, when I couldn't fall asleep the other day, I was browsing houses there, which was like,
Wow.
so ridiculous. But I love Evergreen. You'll need to hook me up with your friends so I can
Absolutely
go meet them.
Absolutely. We're coming out there at some point. I don't know when. Probably early next year. But we'll figure that out. But they're great.
Okay, yeah.
Matt and Mary Beth. She's like one of the probably most notable yoga teachers in the country. I'm not just saying that. That's not my opinion. This is like cover of Yoga Mag and her like. And then Matt is he's basically. He's like a marketing savant, but he used to work at Vital Proteins. That company, if you know that company.
Yeah. Yep. Very well.
And after they sold, he is now at Beekeepers Natural. If you know that company.
Yep, I do. That's super cool.
So he's there trying to get them, just progressing the company. But anyway, so we were visiting them in LA, and as when I went out, we're touring the streets and whatever, and we went into this place that had cold pressed juice on the menu, and I'm like, "What is cold pressed juice?" And mind you, this is 2012, so like this is way before the trend of cold pressed juice was a thing. It barely was on the East Coast at this point. It might have been in New York in like 2 stores, but it was nowhere near Philly. Philly's usually a late adopter to like new things like this, but once they latch on to something, they like latch on heavy. So me as a chef and also just like food guy, I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I've never even heard of it. And I'm also a lifelong vegetarian, which we didn't touch, but I'll touch on.
Well, don't worry, that's like highlighted in pink over
All
here.
right,
So we'll touch on that. But
so I'm holding this bottle, and I'm like, yo, why is this a 16 ounce $12? I'm like, LA is wild. But of course you're there, so I'm like, oh, let me buy this, right? So I buy it, and I drink it, and immediately I'm like, yo, I get it. Just for the first sip, I got it. So then I had to start researching, like, why this costs that much. And the machinery and the nutrient density and shelf life. So I had an epiphany there. I'm like, yo, I've never heard of this. It's not in Philly. This is it. This is cold pressed juice. So this is 2012. Fast forward to 2014. I was like, yo, all right, to start the company. It's called STRIPP''D. And I'm gonna open up a cold pressed juice shop. We don't have one. We got this like junk countertop situations across the city. The city needs this, and then I'll add like a couple bites and whatever. And that was how it all happened.